Good day, everybody. Today is August 28th, time approximately 5:09 Mountain Standard. Today we'll be watching ContraLand. It's about an hour and 38 minutes. Thank you for tuning in to the informal war. Yeah, not war zone, sorry. Informal warfare channel. This is not a podcast. Nevertheless, this is something new I'm trying to do is observe material. Sometimes we watch a lot of these YouTube videos or something on the net by ourselves. So I want to present somewhat of a new format of watching these presentations and documentaries or whatever with like-minded individuals and interjecting some commentary, more so chatting along with it in real time. That way we can build ideas, strategize, plan, and plot what our next move is going to be. Now, ContraLand is about child sex trafficking. So I warn anybody that is tuning in now, it is a touchy subject. And the reality of it is I haven't watched it yet. This is my first time watching it. I've known about it. I support Vets for Child Rescue, which Craig Sawman Sawyer heads up, and doing phenomenal work going into the darkest areas of this country and rescuing children involved in some of the most ungodly things that you can imagine. Just recently, there was a big bust in Georgia of a child sex trafficking ring where I believe 39 children were rescued, or at least I think it was 29 or excuse me, 26 rescued, and they found 39, or excuse me, the rest was they located them, so they know where they're at. And hopefully, God willing, they was rounded up by the U.S. Marshals, and one of the spokespersons said basically now the ball is in the court of the Attorney General, and let's just hope these people get prosecuted. Well, Sawman Sawyer is somebody who's on the front line and actually documented by way of this documentary just exactly what that involves. So for those who have been scarred or are hard to receive such information, I would advise not to tune in. Myself, I don't like to face these harsh realities as well, because we how should I say it? Who can do such evil to a child? It's kind of like Jesus said, the kingdom belongs to them. The kingdom of God belongs to the children, and it's better for somebody to tie a millstone around their neck and cast themselves into the middle of the ocean than it is to harm one of these little children. So let's go ahead and get into it, like I say. And also shout out to Titans of Liberty podcast. Craig Sawyer will be our guest tonight, approximately 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So let's go ahead and get into it. I won't talk too much. I really want to take it all in, as I would say you should as well, if you can stomach it. But just know that these things are going on whether you like it or not. These things are going on probably in your neighborhood and you don't even know it. There's probably people on your job that involve themselves in such debauchery and ungodly activities. Not saying that everybody's suspect, but I mean, the harsh reality is these things go on. And the way that I help is I try to contribute as much as I can to Vets for Child Rescue, because it's one of those dark corners I don't like to look into. I can do all the conspiracy stuff, I could do geopolitics, but I know that this human trafficking and child trafficking is the currency of the globalists. So let's get into it. God bless everybody. May He protect our hearts, minds, and also give us wisdom and insight on how we should act regarding such. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Nancy Stafford. In the 5 years I worked alongside Andy Griffith on Matlock, I played a lawyer
Stupid.
whose job was to defend the.
I gotta learn this new software. I'm live, and we are going to fix that audio issue. Stand by. All right, let's try this one more time. Setting up late. All right, we'll do this again.
Hi, I'm Nancy Stafford. In the 5 years I worked alongside Andy Griffith on Matlock, I played a lawyer whose job was to defend the innocent. That, of course, was fiction. But the reality of innocent human beings needing to be defended from evil and evil people has never been greater. Right beneath our noses.
Yeah, guys. It's cool. Nobody's watching. We're going to get it straight. We are going to get it straight.
Hi, I'm Nancy Stafford. In the 5 years I worked alongside Andy Griffith on Matlock, I played a lawyer whose job was to defend the innocent. That, of course, was fiction. But the reality of innocent human beings needing to be defended from evil and evil people has never been greater. Right beneath our noses, all across America, in every community, large and small,
Comment if you don't
there's an
have sound.
epidemic, and I don't use that word lightly, of young girls and boys being sold and bought as sex toys. They're trafficked like drugs, inanimate objects for the pleasure of the buyer. It's become a $38 billion a year industry. These children are contraband, and America has become ContraLand.
The most publicly known child predator is billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. The children that he was using, reportedly ages 12 to 14 years old, these children come from our families. That's where it impacts America. His connection with international political figures, financial figures, and industry made him a threat to them. That may be why he's dead today.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. You available?
Yeah, I got two girls, Kelsey and Carrie, both 13, both real fresh.
How much is 2 girls for a half hour?
2 girls for a half hour would normally be $200. I'll do it for $150.
Well, if I had a half hour with one girl, then a half hour with the other girl, and then maybe the two of them together.
Wow.
Are you still okay doing that?
Yes, sir, we are, but the girls are sleeping right now. We won't be open until a little bit later on. I believe that we should be able to make ourselves available for you at about 1 o'clock, if that's okay. The normal rate is $100, half an hour, $150 for an hour, unless you want both girls. And then, I'll be willing to bargain with you about that because you seem like such a nice guy. Yeah. These are physically my own girls. I've got a really small operation, but I take real good care of them.
Yeah, it gets confusing. This is like in the middle of nowhere. It's super weird. Yo, you can come on in. You can go ahead and sit on the couch. I'm gonna get a drink. Do you want any water?
Sorry about that. I was trying to remove the time bar.
I take really good care of my girls. I like to make sure that they're safe. Be nice to them. There'll be condoms on the bedside table, so you don't have to worry about that. Is that a problem?
No.
Okay.
Touchy. Sit down. Sit down. Sheriff's office! Bad boy.
Hands up. All the way out.
Cuffs.
Craig Sawyer is the most qualified individual to handle the mission for interdicting child predators and child sex traffickers. Former Marine, former Navy SEAL, not just Special Warfare SEAL, but a member of SEAL Team 6, federal law enforcement officer from the standpoint of being a federal air marshal, plus working on an individual basis with other government agencies.
I feel like as a warrior, I'd been a Marine, I'd been a Navy SEAL, I grew up as a fighter, and I realized that, man, yeah, I'd spent the first half of my life going up against terrorists, serving as a counter-terrorist operator in the counter-terrorist unit, and that was a worthy contribution. But as I learned more about child trafficking and the harm and abuse of the most precious and innocent and helpless and defenseless, I just realized that I couldn't look myself in the mirror without doing what I could to combat those who are harming the children. Who am I if I can't stand up for the smallest and most defenseless and most innocent and precious among us? What kind of warrior can't even look after a child?
I was freshly 17 and grew up in a single parent home, so I never met my dad. So when I met this guy who said all the right things, and he took everything that he knew about me and used it against me. Like, I had to do it, or else I was gonna lose something that I felt like was holding me together, because I was still a kid. The most horrible things that happened when I was out there was at the hands of the buyers, and they prey on that, and they just do whatever they want. They're hurting people, and they're doing years and years and years of damage.
As a former Navy SEAL, I'm wired for direct action. And I know that for this kind of work, especially dealing with cartels, I'd need a team of guys I could depend on for high threat security.
Everybody ready to do it again, guys? Yeah. I'm ready. Yeah.
So I put together what I called the Viper Team, Veterans Interdicting Pedophile Rings. Former special operators, all very highly skilled and highly intelligent. Every one of them wanted to stop child trafficking.
Yeah, nice.
After a couple of days getting dialed in at the range, we were ready to deploy. When I discovered that thousands of children, little boys and girls, were being brought across our southern border to be sold for sex, I felt this is where I needed to go first, to be Cold Valley.
So you got this peak right off of our 10 o'clock over here?
I think that's Scout Hill.
I'm going to show you these Scout Hills here.
This would be extremely difficult to find these scouts hiding in these mountains. You know, there's little caves and stuff up in there, and they tuck themselves back in there, and they're very good at what they do. The better they are, the more they make from the cartel.
So
See, that's crazy.
Put this one right over here.
In the middle of
Mostly
nowhere.
On the south side. Yep, I'm going to put it on your side.
Wow.
Yeah.
Between 2006 and 2012, 75,000 children were brought into the United States and probably put into the pedophile pipeline.
When author Tom Clancy created his legendary spy character, Jack Ryan, Clancy based him on a composite of 4 real-world intelligence operatives.
Steve Pachinik.
But Jack Ryan was mostly inspired by one man, Jack Farmer. He is one of the top intelligence, counterterrorism, and criminal investigative specialists in the world.
Drugs and alcohol are used by pedophiles in a grooming system for these children. They're used to groom them, to initiate them into pedophilia for the purpose of rape, and also to control them. After a while, they develop addictions, and from the addictions, then they see a way to cope. After a certain period of time, though, some of them just can't cope. They will commit suicide.
Think about the Yuri Bezmenov
After completing their aerial
propaganda,
reconnaissance,
keeping them
Craig and his
intoxicated.
Viper team coordinate with federal and local law enforcement, who are firsthand experts in how and where traffickers are exploiting our borders.
For wearing all that camouflage was try to conceal his heat signature on FLIR. A lot of
The Viper team then works up a mission plan in their Tactical Operations Center. Then it's off to the border to do some more recon, expecting to encounter the traffickers in action.
All right, we're about to roll into the Vico Valley in Arizona, close to the southern border. It goes from Arizona to San Diego, California. It's the most significant hotbed of activity of illegal migration and narcotics and human trafficking into the continental United States. So even our federal and local law enforcement won't roll into there without multiple vehicles and significant support. So we should be able to get a look at what's going on there, but we'll definitely have to watch our six.
Think about Obama bringing in all of those individuals from the southern border and why they really don't want to protect
I don't think I could ever
the
make
border.
my way across here. Could you?
Next to impossible.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's too easy.
If you have a 5-year-old daughter and you live in the United States, this is what stops her from going to Mexico and being raped. If you live in Mexico and you have a 5-year-old daughter, this is what stops her from being trafficked into the United States for these perverts to rape her. It's that simple. That's reality.
That's sick.
The Viper team's goal is to locate the cartel spotters and make it harder for them to get their human cargo across the border and into the U.S. For many young kidnapped boys and girls coming through Mexico, this is where their journey begins. Well, if I wanted to know who was coming in here, I'd have someone up there because it's easy to drop them off and pick them up if they're living here in town or something, to have them up there watching. But otherwise, push them further back with high-powered optics to see the dust trails of the vehicles coming in, and they'll be able to count vehicles and see if it's law enforcement, SUVs, or what kind of activity that they could expect from that.
There are about 75 cartel organizations that are controlling and trafficking women and children. Now, this is slavery, something that we had controlled and gotten rid of 100, 150 years ago.
Craig and his team move in to conduct recon in an area where all major mountaintops are occupied by cartel spotters.
This is where we're camped out right now. There's 2 drops on the north side and there's 1 drop on the south side. This is where the scout's sitting that we were told about yesterday.
Right.
If he's sitting up there, that's a good sign that there's groups being pushed through.
If you guys know anything about human trafficking and child trafficking, it's literally 24/7, 365. There's no stopping. Look at where they're at, in the middle of nowhere, not even trying to get a lead. They have a lead. So just imagine, who else is going to go out there and get these people? Are you going to do it? Vets for Child Rescue does.
Okay. That's his head today. Yeah.
That is a warning for the gang.
Really? Which gang?
MS-13.
MS-13?
American soil, a warning by MS-13 that this is their territory. We gotta clean this up.
A bit farther down, the team arrives at an active border crossing spot.
So here's one area of U.S.-Mexico border that there's literally a gate. You can walk straight into the United States from this gate. So if I were to step right there, that literally would be Mexico. Now, last time I was down here, see this rickety little barbed wire fence up this hillside. There was literally little to no barbed wire at all, just a couple strands almost laying on the ground. That actually has been repaired a bit since I was down here. There are some minor improvements being made. I mean, this is, folks, you know, this is our border.
And in moments, they spot the cartel traffickers with their human contraband. For now, the traffickers' operation is disrupted as they have specific schedules to keep. But once the Viper team leaves, they'll eventually complete their journey straight into the United States. Craig and the team continue their recon patrol into the night to observe more on how the traffickers play their game in that area. Using night vision and thermal image devices, the Viper team was able to report signs of heavy traffic to law enforcement.
This is what they refer to as flat top. And it's another cartel scout location where they keep scouts up there year round. And also right here where I'm sitting, but right up the back side of it, right here, it runs the U.S.-Mexico border. So this is Mexico. And on this side is the United States. But that's it, folks. I mean, a little barbed wire fence.
There he is. You see him? He's walking up on them rocks.
Holy shit, yeah, there he is. Got it. Well, he just turkey feet right there, his head. I see it. Oh, shit, you shifted left.
And I got to tell you, one of the things that really angered me as a warrior, an American citizen, was seeing that there are cartel scouts that are allowed to live on the mountaintops inside the United States and report with radios and circumvent our law enforcement. And that these cartel scouts live up on these mountains year round and they're resupplied on a regular basis and they're allowed to stay there. It's unthinkable. It's ridiculous.
See why we need a
give
wall.
the enemy the high ground and just allow them to operate in our own home?
Crazy.
Like, how does that come about? I don't get it.
Obama.
There's a wide range of child trafficking victims and perpetrators that we're seeing. We're seeing everything from MS-13 gangbangers, moving kids and teenagers to high-end sophisticated networks and individuals, and then even families, sadly enough, mothers and fathers sell their own kids. All of it's heartbreaking. The kids lose at every turn. We just got to figure out exactly what we can do about it.
Hey, Sawman, come check this out.
Looks like we just missed dinner.
As we were coming up, they were watching us probably over here. And as we got up, they moved back down the mountain. And we followed suit into their main camp area, which they stage. And they all three had big packs on, carrying dope.
It shut down this little route for a while.
I think the most important thing, man, is we ran across the little kid's tiny backpack, man. It's put things in perspective. Food, little shoes, like man,
of course they
unpassable almost, man.
The network is very powerful. Criminals are organized, and I think it's time that we good people organize to fight back for our kids. After all, who are we if we can't look after our own offspring? There are multiple things that cause this culture of child rape. One of the things is pornography. Another is Alfred Kinsey. Back in the 1950s, he was a self-described sadomasochistic pedophile whose own genitals were mutilated due to what he preferred sexually. So his mind was sick.
Child sex trafficking in the United States really begins back earlier than most people understand. In 1970s, we already had a major campaign in the United States on the issue of child sexual abuse and trafficking, but we didn't call it trafficking at that time.
Dr. Judith Reisman is the founder of the Reisman Institute, which is dedicated to exposing and debunking Alfred Kinsey's fraudulent so-called science regarding child sexuality. She is internationally recognized as an expert witness on human sexuality.
I would have to say the Kinsey reports laid the scientific foundation for abusing kids. In 1948, the groundwork was laid. There was Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, which was Alfred Kinsey wrote Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, supported across the board by Planned Parenthood, all came together with that. So Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. Then in 1953, Sexual Behavior in the Human Female. There was no field of human sexuality education before Kinsey. None. We had the common law that was based our laws on. It was biblical, okay. When Kinsey came on board, half the states in the Union gave the death penalty, could give the death penalty for rape. The other half, life in prison. Now we have all these feminists, properly complaining that that rape is treated, in a casual way. Well, this all comes from something. It all emerges out of something. And that something, that kind of dehumanization that is picked up by the media from the academic world, pushed through the schools, through first just the universities, then the junior high schools, the high schools, then now the kindergarten, all that then lays the groundwork for where we are.
It seems like a percentage of Americans perceive Kinsey as someone who opened up the discussion for sexuality and that was a good thing. But what I think a lot of them fail to see is that he was a sadomasochistic pedophile, and what he did was horrific. And so his studies were falsified, and since they were, it seems to me like his studies and the doctrine that have followed need to be gone back, reversed, denounced, disavowed, and replaced by more wholesome and healthy real science, whatever that actually is, but not to take the falsified studies of a sick mind and accept that as science.
You're talking about a man who, he didn't just use images of children, he used real children. He used real children, and he had charts and graphs of orgasms that a child was supposed to have an orgasm, a 5-year-old, a 4-month-old. One was a 4-year-old that allegedly had 26 orgasms in 24 hours. Now that's around the clock experiment, right? So this was research that was established and was believed by the American public, by the whole world, really. And the whole thesis behind his research was that children are sexual from birth. Children are sexual from birth, which then gets funneled into the mindset of the public, and it becomes the foundation of human sexuality education. Hugh Hefner, at age 22, he was a virgin in college. He read Kinsey, and that radicalized him. He said, oh, Kinsey's the scientist. I will be Kinsey's pamphleteer. So what comes out of Playboy is the stream of pornography, which is at the base of your trafficking world. Absolutely. The stream of pornography. 15 years later, we got Penthouse. 10 years after that, we got Hustler. And then it hasn't stopped, right? But the impetus for that came from the academic world, came from Dr. Alfred Kinsey's fraudulent data.
And look at all the harm it's caused.
Enormous harm. Alfred Kinsey should have been arrested. So should all his teammates have been arrested. The Kinsey Institute's still alive and still educating the public. And now we are seeing the explosion, and the end result is the massive abuse of children, as well as directly related, the trafficking of children, because you can't separate the grooming of children from the trafficking of children.
Most of us start out in the business as children because what adult would make that conscious decision? Not very many. My mother had a drug problem and she wasn't pretty enough to make any money, but I was. I really wanted my mom to love me, and I also didn't want her to be sick. So that's how it started.
When people talk about sex trafficking, it's always with the image of a young girl. But in reality, young boys are targeted to a disturbing degree as well. Horrifically, there's a national organization that specifically targets young boys. Its name is NAMBLA.
NAMBLA is the North American Man-Boy Love Association. It's a group of men that are sexually attracted to boys.
Bob Hamer spent 26 years in the FBI, much of it working undercover as a hitman, drug trafficker, international arms dealer, professional gambler, and pedophile.
I literally sat through a meeting with the members in which they discussed having oral sex on 18-month-old boys. I was able to attend 2 of their kind of top secret national conferences. Once I got to the meeting, I realized that it was more about celebrating your love for boys, where to go to find boys, how to seduce boys. It was those type of things that the members were talking about. Most of the men that I dealt with were high-functioning individuals. I think a lot of us think we can identify who the pervert is. We think, oh, they hang out at the public park with a trench coat and flash somebody, but that's not what I ran into. I found that the men in this organization ran the socioeconomic gamut. One of the men that we convicted had a Corvette, and that was sort of his entree into the boys, because he would allow the boys to ride in his Corvette. They liked his car. It varied with each person, but it really is. It's a grooming process. I mean, it's similar to the dating process, where it begins with a glance, with a kind word, with a conversation, and pretty soon you've developed this relationship. One of the members was big into Frisbee, and it allowed him to kind of come behind the boy to hug him and get close to him and show him how to toss this Frisbee.
Psychological warfare, man.
They sought out that child that was seeking a father figure. And once they were able to identify that person, that's how they were successful in their seduction. I will only apply this to NAMBLA. I am not an expert I'm not a child psychologist. I'm not trained in psychology. But in my experience with NAMBLA, 3 years, not on a daily basis, but 3 years in the organization, participating at a high level, writing for their magazine, communicating with 165 members that were in prison. Not one child was successfully targeted by a NAMBLA member that had a strong, loving father figure in the home.
And there it
one of the
is.
members told me, "You can never cure us, but you always tell the court-ordered counselors what they want to hear."
Said it's a permanent, it's not a disease. It's Satanism.
If I had the ability to communicate directly to child traffickers and child predators, it would really be two parts. Number one, it destroys the lives of the children. It's not okay. If you try to tell yourself just because you're getting off on it doesn't make it okay for the victim, because I interview the surviving victims all the time, and their lives have been shattered.
Think about the psychological aspect of this. It's kind of like the Bezmenov, you know, you demoralize. They say it's a science. The new thing is love, LGBTQ P+, you know. Trafficking victims face physical risks such as drug and alcohol addiction, STDs, miscarriages, forced abortions, trauma.
If you're out there preying upon the children, we're out there looking for you. We're probably going to get you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Informal War Zone. We are
Michael
watching
T's
live
research has discovered a
ContraLand.
spike in underage prostitution in a suburb of Guilford, Connecticut. Teaming up with local law enforcement, they plan to send a message to the pedophiles of the city. You seek out sex with a child, you go to jail.
It's a lifestyle for these
We're going to head to
people.
the police station, meet the chief of police, along with the DA, liaison with them, coordinate, and map out exactly how we're going to operate together to get this operation done.
Nice to meet you. Greg Sawyer. Nice to see you. Greg Sawyer. Pleasure.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You know, there's multiple agencies helping out here as well. We're the only ones sitting at the table, but we have several surrounding agencies. We have the Madison Police Department, the Clinton Police Department, the Brantford Police Department, the North Haven Police Department, the Milford Police Department, West Haven Police Department.
Fairfield also assisted us.
Spent 3 hours with us the other day. Yeah. So, you know, it's not just us, and everybody's on the same page with what we're trying to accomplish. So
I'm doing the background side of it as far as the legal aspects, the charges, what we think we have. I've already been able to screen the stuff as provided in terms of the texts.
Brian Sibley is the local district attorney, the prosecutor. He will monitor the conversations and texts to determine at exactly which point the team can make an arrest. In most cases, they won't even have to wait for the perp to arrive at the house.
You know, but the second they start going past and starting to force and trying to walk past you or something, just give me the code and we'll come, or them. That'll be them.
If they step in there and disrobe.
So yeah, if we can stage your truck, you know, somehow where it's kind of severing off the backside of the driveway, it forces them to park in that area, then it's only logical to go up on the deck.
yeah, the deck's going to be lighted.
Hopefully they might see the decoy inside the window anyway.
Yeah, if we know that they're coming up, then I'll be in the door and motioning in.
A woman working undercover is pretending to be the pimp, selling a young girl to men who are answering an ad on Backpage.com. Backpage virtual shopping mall for all things sexual, including access to underage girls and boys. Since this recording, Backpage is now illegal and offline.
Once all that's done, Matt's going to reset his team back at the house, bring the transport vehicle back and secure it back in the garage, and we're going to reset up for the next round.
See, the key is the DA.
All right, so we're off to go
In
prep
trouble
the
with
target house.
George
We're gonna use
Soros
for
is
the
he's
operations,
bought up
figure out
most
how to
of
hide
the
cameras there, the lay of the land,
DAs.
so to speak, and coordinate what we're doing there.
You gotta respect the efforts, but yeah, the DA is the key. You can
I'd say
catch
it's so
them, but
common
gotta
that
lock
no
'em
matter
up.
what town you're in, that by now you could probably go within a couple blocks and find a victim or a perpetrator of child trafficking. Is that pervasive and that many people finding out that they can prey upon the children and benefit from it. So it's very widespread.
It's a couple blocks, man. It's in your neighborhood. Wake up, people.
After posting online ads for sex with a young girl, they received the first response within 15 minutes. Within 30 days, they received over 5,000 responses locally.
Hey, good, come on in.
Law enforcement and the Viper team are at the ready, but everyone's concern is this predator armed? Is he violent? Is he a trafficker coming to kidnap the girls and run? Nobody knows.
What? Good. Nice to meet you. Brian, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, can I get you a water, or do you want to start on the wine?
No, I'm good with the one.
No, you sure?
Yeah. I'll take a glass of water, though.
Yeah, have a seat. Is bottled okay?
Huh?
Bottled okay?
Craig and his team wait for Brian the DA to give them the word.
So what made you interested in this? Why'd you answer my ad?
I don't know. I'm a boring person. I need to do something fun in my life. All I do is go to work and go home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do nothing else.
This is fun, entertainment.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. At first, I was thinking it was kind of sketchy, but that's why I kept not hassling you, but I just wanted to make sure that I was alright, because
Right.
There ain't nothing in this world worth my freedom, you know?
Yeah. No, I feel the
Tick,
same
tick,
way. It's a risk putting an ad like that out on Craigslist.
Yeah, because you see a lot of, excuse my language, but you see a lot of crazy people up there.
Yeah. So I hope you don't mind that I actually invited somebody to come along.
How you doing, buddy?
You're here to party.
Not so much. How you doing?
Well, if you let me know what you got in mind, maybe I can be of assistance.
I don't know. I not really. Like I said, I get a little nervous, you know? And trust me, I don't want no problems.
No, I understand that. Well, I understand a few more things too.
Yeah. What?
I know you're into family play.
I did that one time with a cousin of mine. She got so drunk one time, and it was just like, oh. She came on to me, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not into it, and this, that, and the third. And then she started grabbing me and touching me or whatever, and I'm like, nah, bro, I can't. And then I got up with her, and then that was that.
All right. Well, what drove you here today? What made you decide, okay, I'm gonna come and do this?
Nothing. Just like I said, man. I'm sorry.
Keep your hands out of your pockets.
No, it's just my phone.
Yeah. Keep your hands out of your pockets and have a seat, please.
Okay. You know what? I don't even feel comfortable right now. And even when I first walked in, I felt a little awkward.
Yeah. Well, I think you felt awkward because you've been a bit of a bad boy.
Bad boy. That's the code word.
Yeah, and I'm...
Stand up right now. Hands behind your back.
Yes, sir.
Do it now.
Yes, sir.
Turn in. Anything on you shouldn't have weapons that you open?
Yes, sir.
Even like the end.
Yes, sir.
All right, stay right there. Turn and face me. Give me a search, please.
I read a report too. I'll mute this real quick. Nevertheless, the report was they stopped some individual.
The first predator
recently,
is taken away to be booked with attempting to have sex with a minor.
and the left was
He's
mad.
potentially facing 8 years in jail, plus a $10,000 fine, and an average lawyer fee of $175,000. He'll be a marked man for the rest of his life, registered as a sex offender. The fact is, he was guilty of this crime before he even got to the house. But V4CR operators and the police gave the perp plenty of opportunity to fully express his intent to have sex with a minor by letting this sting play out.
Statistically, we're learning that each child predator harms an average of 70 children each. Some of them, it's hundreds of children because they've worked themselves again into positions of authority and access. And some of them sadly never get caught. Others get caught very early on. So the average is about 70 children each. And so they tend to never stop.
As darkness falls and the temperature begins to drop, a second predator arrives.
Thank you all for hanging in there. It's a tough subject, man. But just know, God sends guardian angels. Evil is real.
So anyway, have a seat.
Yeah, that's fine.
How was your trip?
Cold,
Yeah.
but I like it, so.
Ugh.
What? What's wrong with the cold? Yes.
Gross. So, I hope you don't mind. I have a little surprise. I kind of took it upon myself because of what we've been talking about.
Okay.
I have a friend that is kind of connected in such things.
Yeah.
So I asked him to come over and tell us about some of the special deals that he could get us on, like more experiences like this. That's cool.
How's it going?
Hi.
I am someone who you can consider like your recreational activities director.
Okay.
I know a lot of people around here. You let me know what you're after. Maybe I can help you out.
How about we try this if I do end up coming again?
Yeah.
Can we do it then? Would that be
Let's
possible?
meet then. Well, I mean,
Well, what, I don't, help me understand. I'm not sure I understand why you're here. I don't want to miss out on anything.
Well, why are you here?
I'm here to help you, man. I'm here to help you find a 12-year-old girl, apparently. What was it that drove you to come and seek this out? I mean, I think I understand based on the communication, but
Yeah.
can you help me kind of understand your thoughts a little more?
I've been depressed for the past 2 years now, out of being secluded, alone. And really any form of communication kind of raises everything up.
If being depressed brought you into a bad place, what do you think it might do?
See, most of these people have been abused themselves.
Having sex with a grown man and having his left inside of her and her mother.
I don't think it would be good, but at the same time.
but you were willing.
Yeah.
You were willing to do that though to a 12-year-old girl.
I guess you could say my depression took me too high.
I got to tell you, as somebody that does this, this was difficult for me to do as an adult. It was difficult for me to talk to you with the way that you were talking about my 12-year-old stepdaughter.
It's hard to watch
And I do
this.
this all the time.
The entire ride here, I knew that I was making a bad choice in coming here, knowing that this is probably gonna end horribly. But the fact that the sexual drive in me kept on pushing forward.
See,
So I
know.
guess I just
This is what
pushed
rage
to the side and just
like
I'm going.
manifests.
I think that because the
I'll
fact
do
that
the
you've
tie-in.
been a bad
I'll be
boy,
doing the throwing
this is where the road ends for
into
you.
the middle of the ocean.
Please stand up right now. Hands right at you. Walk to me.
Sometimes you have to just look at the dark, man, and know why you wake up. You wake up to fight for those who can't fight. Never forget that.
Yeah, we'll bring it.
This is hard.
Our undercover agents make themselves targets for the predators online. They don't have to work very hard at it because these predators are out there looking for their targets already. It's not really like going to a pond and throwing a hook in and pulling in catfish. It's more like going to the pond, dropping a stick of dynamite in there, and they all come up. There are thousands of them that will respond, certainly hundreds within one night.
Okay, slow down a little bit because the road is going to veer off to the left.
The next predator made a mistake with his directions and has gotten lost.
It's way up. Listen. Will you both of you listen?
Realizing he's in over his head, he begins to panic.
What?
Knowing he's a repeat offender with a propensity for violence, the external surveillance team who's been tracking him decides to end this right there.
This predator chose to include a friend to give him a ride to a 13-year-old's house and commit a felony sex act with a minor. What a piece of work.
Take those off, but when I want you to drive, so you just relax a little bit, okay? Just want you to calm down.
Tell me what happened, sir. You guys can get evidence, officer, to secure this stuff here. Can you tell me what happened, sir? Tell me what happened, sir. Can you tell me what happened, sir?
Go back to the house.
We're going to talk to you in a minute. What's your name? Did you pick it up and just secure it? Clear for transport? Clear for transport. So make sure you call that mileage, all right? No, she's driving the car, following us. She's not under arrest, so okay.
The last predator of the night arrives, bearing a gift for the girl he's there to have sex with. A birthday cake for a 12-year-old who just turned 13.
Man, I don't know if I can finish this movie. I'm just going straight up, guys. This shit is rough. I don't cuss, man. Stop that. Oh, we're live.
The predator also brought some lingerie for
bro,
the girl
at
and
this
her
point,
mother to wear while they engaged in his.
Mr. Sawyer, well job. Job well done. Yeah. And we're live. And on that note, I'll just expand. God save the souls that are lost, protect the souls that need to be reached, heal the souls that have been damaged, rescue all in need, for all need you, Father. In the name of Jesus, in the name of Yeshua. Yeah.